I'm Diana Ennis. I am the co-founder and director of the Heartland Song Network, a relatively new Kansas nonprofit that seeks to empower the art of songwriting through education, collaboration, and mentorship. And my guest today is our Artist of the Month for November 2020, Mickey P. Welcome, Mickey P.
Hello, thank you.
I've spent like the last 3 or 4 days going down the rabbit hole of Mickey P and checking out all of your social media platforms. And I have been familiar with your work for some time and have played your songs on my radio show on KKFI and been to some of your performances. And I have to say, I'm just so impressed with your work ethic and the breadth and the width of your talent. Are you classically trained in any way? Do you come from a musical family?
I'm not trained, and I don't necessarily come from a musical family. Um, my dad sang growing up, in the car and around the house, and my mom loved music, and it was encouraged. But I was kind of the one that like I took up guitar when I was 11. Um, and I went to a private Catholic school, and so I just took lessons from the choral director there, Carol Finney, and I just like that was it.
I
And
find that sometimes the most prolific artists that I get to talk to are not classically trained, and I don't think that I think that classical training is a hindrance or an impediment to being a creative or a generative artist. But it doesn't seem to hold people back that truly have a gift, or
mm.
have their antenna. Because I always say this, your antenna is up. And so when did you first start writing your own songs and performing in public?
I started writing songs like really young. I think like when I was kind of learning guitar, and I was getting really like into the Beatles at the time that I like started learning guitar. So I just was like learning a ton of their songs and just like diving in, and I think I was just like taking it all in, and I started writing just like, you know, random songs from probably when I started playing guitar. But the first song that I ever wrote that I performed was, I mean, it probably would have been like late middle school, early high school time of my life.
Do you have any kind of performance anxiety? Is there a ritual that you go through before you do a particularly important recording or performance to kind of get you in the headspace you need to be in?
Honestly, vocal warm-ups do. I do vocal warm-ups religiously before shows, and I like to get like a good 20 minutes in because it just gets me focused and it gets me in this like headspace of like I'm like I feel good, my voice feels warmed up. I do have I don't know if I would say I have performance anxiety because like I love getting on stage and just feeling like free to just like do whatever I need to do in the moment. But I feel like I have more like social anxiety off stage. Just like it can be really overwhelming just talking to a lot of people and about yourself.
That's so funny because I probably have the opposite. I don't have much social anxiety. I am comfortable, at a cocktail party or walking into a room where I don't know anybody and I just kind of insert myself into the conversation.
Mhm.
Or did you find during the pandemic or the lockdown, especially as it dragged on, did you find that your relationship with time changed?
Yeah.
And by that,
For-
I mean, for me, I didn't know what day it was. I was trying to hard to build some kind of structure, into my daily
Yeah.
routine because I felt like I was wasting
It's just
so
Groundhog
much
Day
time,
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking about this last night because I'm packing for a trip right now and I'm trying to decide what things to do to like preoccupy my time on the trip. And I got um really into playing video games during the pandemic, which is
Mm.
something that I think I always like wanted to do, but kind of felt on the outside of because like my siblings did that. And I was just working on music so much up into the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit and I was still working on music, but it was kind of like, okay, I can relax. Like, what do I want to do? So I started playing video games more. And I was just thinking back to like just that first year. Every day I was like playing video games, which I don't do anymore.
Well, I found that I had gotten out of the habit of reading books and I
Mm,
started to read again. So I think it's okay. It's okay as long as it didn't swallow up your life like some of the games
yeah.
where they go, almost 24/7,
Well,
in
actually, some
bed.
good song inspiration came out of it, which like that's just kind of like something that happens in my life. Anything I do like is gonna like get into a song somehow or just be a part of that whole story. Um, but I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I think just like every day it was just like that same cycle of like wanting to get, well, really I was just trying to escape, I think.
Well, not
And to,
knowing, how long
yeah,
it was gonna, there were so many unknowns. Hopefully, if we find ourselves in that position again, fingers crossed that we're not,
yeah,
we will be better able to handle it,
for
mentally,
sure.
professionally, and spiritually, and in every other way. I think the first time I remember seeing you perform was there was, I think, a KKFI um, event of some kind at Californo's, and there was like an open jam or something
Mm.
going on upstairs. And Bill Sundahl says, "You got to come up here and watch these kids." And I come upstairs, and all of
Oh
a sudden,
God.
I see an oboe. I see an oboe, and I said, "Oh, what fresh hell is this? I don't know." And it was, tell me a little bit about your the Swallowtails and
Yeah.
how they got together, and the oboe alone sets you so far apart from most people. But tell me about the Swallowtails.
Yeah. So it's a bassoon.
Whoa, I said
Um,
an oboe, didn't I? Sorry.
yeah, no, it's
I'm
okay. It's
so
okay.
ignorant.
That happens a lot.
Even better. Even better.
I know that's what I think. It's more rock and roll. Well, we all met as friends. So I met Rachel Lovelace, who plays bassoon, 4.5 years ago, actually at Californo's at like a jazz jam. We were
That's
both
what it was. It was a jazz jam.
uh
That's what
we
it
were
was.
both
Yeah.
we met through like our partners at the time. And then like around the same time I met Addie Dancy, who plays cello and sings and also has their own project called Sisterbot. And I met them through a cabaret called Feminine Danger that they were like putting on. And that was like 2018. So I was starting to branch out from like my high school band and doing my solo thing. And I had released my solo album like that fall, I think. Um, and I met Addie that way. And then I realized that Addie and Rachel went to school together. They got classical degrees together at UMKC, but I had met them as individuals. So I think we all just like hung out one night at my apartment and it was just like that. And I don't know if it was like we that night like set out and planned for it, but I was wanting to put together a band. I didn't want to just like be by myself. And I think it was just like a friendship that blossomed into this like musical relationship. And now it's just like family. Like they're just like my people and we just make music together.
Your tribe. So do you collaborate on these songs, or are you the songwriter and they figure out how to augment your song, or what's the process there? How much of a collaboration is it?
So up until now, it's been like I would write a song or like our album Right Where We Are. I wrote all of those songs kind of like on my own. And then I'd bring them to Rachel and Addie and then they'd compose their parts into the song. Um, but we're working on an album right now that will be the last Mickey P and the Swallowtails album, actually, because it's the last album that was written like that. So whatever is for us in the future, I think will be more collaborative. We'll
Mhm.
we'll all come together, and we have more just songwriting experience now as individuals too. So I'm really interested to see. I want us ideally to all be like singing lead one day, and just like having it be more of like you know a trio at the
Well,
core.
I am so enamored of your vocal and the harmonies that you come up with. I don't know whether you're harmonizing with yourself or, whether those are other voices with you, but you seem to have such a handle on your sound and what
Thank
you want it
you.
to sound like. So my question is, are you producing your own content, and is it in the cards, or have you already produced for others?
So I do produce for myself. So my last two singles that I released, Peter Parker and Your Love, were 100% all me, and like the engineering was me. The production, everything that you hear except for the violin and the cello on Your Love. Um, and all the processes except for the mastering process. I was in and I was doing it. Um, Part of my EP, Don't Lose Your Hope, I self-produced, and my other albums, Doma Swallows and Right Where We Are, I worked with Joel Nanos at Element Recording Studios. So it's just been like a process of kind of getting to where I'm at now, where it's like I just want to make music. And I remember like when I was, first writing songs in middle school and just kind of messing around, um, I would take my mom's iPhone and get on GarageBand and just like do layers. And I would just like put down the guitar part, and then I do like voice, I do piano, I do a little bit of drumming. So I've always been fascinated with like the layering process,
Mhm.
and that's my favorite. Like I can lock myself in my bedroom and I can come out with a song in a couple hours. Like I just love to do it for fun.
Have you attended any songwriting workshops or given any workshops? If so, have you found any value in that exercise?
So through the exchange program that I was just on, Ethno
Ethno.
USA,
Mhm.
um, it is like a really intensive songwriting kind of like workshop. I mean, it's not so much songwriting, it's more just like song learning and cultural sharing. Um, but that's like the closest thing I've gotten to like a songwriting workshop. I've just like always loved writing songs.
Were you chosen to participate in Ethno USA, or did you find them and ask to participate?
I found them.
Did
I
you?
actually went last year too. So I was a part of the first camp in the USA and this one this year just because it's like my favorite time of year now. Like I just have to go to Ethno to like reset. So I applied both years. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I figured out about them through Folk Alliance. I got an email and it was just like apply for this camp. It's like geared towards 21 to 30-year olds, which I was like, okay, that's me. Like I'm used to like seeing it for like teenagers or like I like it just seemed so perfect, and I went, and it literally both years I've been, it's changed my life.
Did you
And
find out about Ethno USA through Folk Alliance? Was that?
yeah, just through my email.
Have you found value and direct connections as a result of Folk Alliance being actually located here and headquartered here in Kansas City? Or were you involved
Hmm.
before they moved here?
Well, my first Folk Alliance was actually in New Orleans. I never went to Folk
Oh,
Alliance.
really?
I've been here my whole life, and I don't know how it just never happened. I
You
had
know,
heard
I
about
hear I
it.
hear that they need to do they have some work to do.
Some
Uh,
outreach. Yes,
yes,
yes.
yes, because New
This
Orleans
is
is where
amazing.
that's where we got the idea for the Heartland Song Network.
Oh, really?
I've been to Folk Alliance about 8 or 9 years in a row, and Danny and I went down into New Orleans, and we went to this is our origin story. We went to one of the panels where the panelists were from all different disciplines in the
Mm.
music industry. There was a publicist, there was a radio promoter, there was a manager, there was a booking agent, and the purpose supposedly of the panel was to for them to tell you, the artist, what you needed to be doing or what they were looking for in order to represent you. And within about 10 minutes, the inmates took over the asylum. And it got pretty contentious. And this one woman especially said, "Look, I've been doing everything that you people have been telling me to do for 30 years. And
Yes.
I have not, I'm, my audience isn't any bigger. I make less money. It's just,
Yeah.
very, very frustrating." So when Danny and I were driving back from New Orleans, we thought, Danny especially, he says, "I'm going to ask just on social media, what do you need as an artist?
Mm.
What don't you have? What skills or assets do you need that you aren't getting?" And so that's kind of what started it, and it snowballed
Mm.
into whatever it is now.
That's
But I'm
awesome.
always interested in an artist such as yourself that grew up here, has chosen to stay here, and so far has not chosen to relocate to Nashville or Asheville or LA or New York. Um, are you, is there any thought to do that, or are you committed to staying in the heartland and trying to make it work from here?
So actually, I'm moving in February.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Where are you
I'm
going?
I'm moving to Hartford, Connecticut. which seems really random. But it's a really just good family opportunity for me. And it's an opportunity that will allow me to travel, and an opportunity that will allow me to be closer to New York and Boston.
Right,
And
right, right.
yeah, so I'm actually leaving in February for the
Oh my
first time
gosh.
ever.
Well, we'll be so sorry to lose you, but
I
you're
know,
gonna
I'm
have to
sorry.
stay in contact with us
Definitely,
because
definitely.
we've kind of started thinking that the heartland is not necessarily a geographic place. You
Hmm.
know, that it's more a headspace and
A
a
heart
spiritual,
space,
yeah,
yeah.
heart space, you know, and since we've kind of started to migrate that way, we've picked up members from literally all over the world. And so
Mm. Well,
we'll
your
just
your guys' room at Focal Lines last year was like that was felt like the hot spot for me.
I'm telling you, and I'm in the throes right now of taking in all of these applications for this year and
Mm.
curating the room for this year. And it's going to be wonderful again, but man, is it a lot of work. And
Yeah, I can't
but it's
imagine.
so gratifying to hear what you just said, because we
Mm.
had people that came to our room and never left. I mean, they came every night and
Well,
didn't.
there was one night I went for a jam and I just like kind of wanted to hang in there because it felt like a safe space for me too. Like I just felt like there were like always
Mhm.
Kansas City people in there, and so I was like, oh, okay, this is my safe
Yeah,
space.
yeah. Well, that's exactly what we want to have happen. And Bo Bledsoe will be curating Saturday night on his own. We're going to be having artists from all over the world Saturday night, from the
Amazing.
beginning until the end. So it's going to be amazing. If you choose to come to Focal Lines this year, we'll be happy to see you there. Have you had a specific mentor um, in your career so far?
Hmm. I I feel like I've had a lot of mentors in different parts of my life. Um, I'd say that, working with Joel Nanos, I was actually in the studio with him on Saturday and we finished my next single that will be coming out with the Swallowtails. Um, and I was talking to him and I was realizing that he's one of my longest working relationships because I went and worked with him with my high school band, like back in like 2014, 2015. And he's been really, he's just seen all of my stages and he's
Mhm.
also like worked with me in the studio. So I'd say he's like probably the closest thing I'd have to like a mentor.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Um, do you teach? Are you an instructor? Since
I
you've,
do.
I mean, you're an instrumentalist, for multi-instrumentalist for sure. When I look at the credits for your work, and you've played all the instruments, and I saw you accompanying artists like Jisun
Yeah.
during Folk Alliance last year. Um, how important is it really to have so many tools in your
Mm.
kit?
It's the most to me. I also think it's a little bit of like I just I need to like get my hands on things and I just like the way that real instruments sound. I prefer that. Um so for me, I mean, especially since I've started producing my own stuff, it's like I have one microphone, like literally my audio box has two inputs on it. So I have one microphone and I have like one instrument plug in. So it's like I need to just make do with that. So it's mostly just like me with my headphones and I'm just like recording on my mic. So like just as many different kind of tambourines or shakers or little like drums that I can find, like anything, is important. And I teach drums, bass, guitar, piano, songwriting, voice, ukulele. Um,
Is that your so-called Joe job teaching?
yeah, yeah. It's super flexible, which is why I love it. But that's the closest thing I get to a day job, which does not look anything like a day job, but
Yeah.
that's what I would consider that. Yeah.
What's the most urgent need for you right now as an artist? What can the Heartland Song Network do for you or other generative artists, regardless of the genre of music? Um, it's not that we're struggling with that. We just don't want to presume to know everything.
Yes, yeah.
What is it that you need to take it to whatever the next level is that you want?
Mm.
I
Well,
mean, do you
I've
just need
been
a bag of cash? I mean, what is it?
I mean, I could always use that. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But I think most important is like what you're doing for me this month, which I'm incredibly honored that I'm Artist of the Month. And I mean, it's just like the thing I think I need most is just for the music to be shared.
Mhm.
And it just needs to get into like lanes that I can't, open the door to, or it just needs to get around outside of my life and my circle. I think
Right.
that's just the most important thing. And so you guys just like doing this and like reaching out to me, like I just feel so valued and seen. And I just think that's what any artist wants, really, is to be seen. And I've kind of like I've struggled to find um like where am I going to be happy, and I think I'm just doing it for a living now, and just having it shared and having it heard is just the most important thing.
Have you looked into sync licensing? Are you aware of it?
Yeah,
Do you see
I've
that
looked
as a
into
possible
it.
avenue?
I do. I just like I'm so terrible at that end of things, and
Mhm.
I'm just always worried that I'm gonna like sign up for something that I don't know the full extent of,
Right,
because I
right.
feel like that creative side is like so natural, and then like that whole other side is just
Yeah.
like, where do I even start?
Yeah, well, we've done some workshops on sync licensing, on getting a booking agent, how to publish your work. Those are all on our YouTube channel. Our
That's
YouTube channel is,
amazing.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna definitely go watch those.
yeah. We're still looking at avenues and ways to help empower the art of the song.
Yeah, I
Um,
love.
yeah, well, I'm so sorry that we're going to be losing you. Hopefully you'll come back and
I'm
visit and
definitely planning on coming back,
tour
and
and all that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely all that.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you this afternoon. I'm
Thank you. You too.
so thankful that you are our Artist of the Month. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback for having you, and that's why we do it. You know, we
Yeah.
think there's an amazing Olympic level, world class level of generative artists here in the Heartland that just need to have a little spotlight on them every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have a great rest of your day, and
Thank you.
we'll see you on the road, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
so much for having me today.
All right. You're so welcome. We'll talk to you soon.